Good Friday afternoon, evening.
Hey.
You're back. You made it back from the States.
I'm back. I'm alive. Yes.
Are you frozen?
I survived the cold and the snow.
I noticed you're wearing a hoodie.
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't. So you're wearing a hoodie right now. Does that mean that you're... Is it cold in Barcelona now?
Officially kind of like, the day I experience winter, I consider next 5 months, no matter what happens, no matter where I am, I'm in the winter mode.
Okay. Well, that's good. Hi, by the way, my name is Darren. This over here is Victor, and we're the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox that releases on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. And on Fridays when we're around, we talk about news of the week. Or in this case, 2 weeks. And in this case, there was no news. So thank you. Have a good... And we're taking off.
Thank you so much. See you in the next one. Cheers.
No, we'll be around. Just call Native. Good to see you. Thanks. By the way, Victor does have another stream coming up in about 2 hours where it's the finale for You Choose with Whitney to where everything comes together. So we'll probably keep this short because you're probably still working on putting it together.
Thank you so much for saying that, because now while you're talking, I will be preparing the demo that I forgot that I need to do today.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much, Darin, and everybody else. If I'm disconnected, you know why.
Hey, Ingen, how you doing? I guess Ingen made it back safely as well. Did everything go okay for you at KubeCon in general?
Everything great. Yeah.
Good. Now, our podcast episode, in fact, we'll just go ahead. Let's switch over because I want to give you plenty of time to get ready for that. So we'll probably cut this one short anyway, to be serious about it. We talked about building off the shelf. We had Hugo on from Namespace Labs. He used to be at Google and other things. Very interesting conversation. Building versus using off the shelf.
Is there these days a founder who is not coming from Google?
There may be, but they probably came from Netflix.
Okay.
Same thing, right? Not the same thing. And then we had the KubeCon review with Whitney this past Wednesday. So we're going to go over a couple of things from that, just showing, if you haven't listened to it yet, we're not going to rehash the whole thing, but a couple of items I do want to call out that I thought were interesting. But besides KubeCon 2 weeks ago, and then this week, I think everybody had a KubeCon hangover. The big thing that's happening, though, in 2 weeks from now, reInvent will be over. So reInvent starts in about 10 days from now, if I'm doing the math right. They have been releasing...
I can't believe that I'm the only person who never went to reInvent, probably.
That's fine. You should go once. I will just say that.
Yeah.
It's in Vegas, though. But you've been to Vegas. But...
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, I can go back to the old trip. That's where I usually end up in Vegas.
Fair enough. But this past week, AWS has been putting out so many, I'm just going to call them press releases for lack of a better term, because a press release to them is a blog post, the documentation, the everything. I mean, it's just been lots and lots of, and nothing big. It's sort of like how Apple has done things recently, right? Here's a little thing, here's a little thing, here's, dripping out until you get to the big thing. It's like, holy cow, they've done all this other stuff. Now what's going to happen? So reInvent should be interesting in a couple of weeks.
Sometimes Apple even announces a big thing as if it's not a big thing.
Not a big thing.
Sometimes even that happens, like with Mac Mini a few weeks ago.
That's true.
It's a big thing.
It is a big thing. Hang on just a second. I lost my screen again. I've got to get either a new cable or I have to switch out hardware, and I'm not sure which it is yet. Let me put that back up there. Okay. You still see it fine, and I can see it on one monitor, but I need to.
KubeCon North America.
Yeah,
blah, blah, yes.
Yeah, but my actual screen goes dead, so I have to because it loses sync. That's just a weird thing. Anyway, podcast Wednesday 6 a.m. Eastern. Let's look at a couple of the things. So in 2 weeks, we'll be talking probably about reInvent. Next, and since most people are here right now, next Friday we're off. It's Thanksgiving in the U.S. I made an executive decision that I am taking off next Friday, so I won't be here. Victor, you can come do it by yourself if you want to.
That's a nice thing about being your own boss in your own podcast. You can make decisions.
I can make decisions. Are you okay with that decision?
Oh, sure.
Okay, good. All right, good. You could tell me if you weren't, but I'd probably ignore you, maybe. I don't know. Cert-manager graduation. Yay.
Brilliant.
Yeah, good. Another graduation was Dapr. Again, good.
Also brilliant.
Yep. And there were a couple others as well, but those were the two big names from my perspective that graduated.
One that feel kind of important is that wasmCloud entered CNCF.
Well, okay. So you sort of brought up the next one. So we've talked about, and you'll be hearing on the podcast towards the end of the year where we talk about WASM. We're not super stoked on WASM in general, right? It's what's it for? But now it's incubating,
Very cool.
right? Has this changed your idea of it? Your perspective?
Oh, no, my idea is still the same. There is a time and place for WASM, but WASM might not be able to take over the world. That's my summary of WASM, right? Kind of, yeah, it's cool. I can see the usages of it. It's not going to replace containers.
Okay. And then one other thing that I want to call out was Jaeger v2 was released, and OpenTelemetry is inside the GUI center of it.
Very cool.
So those were the four big things to me. Again, it was Dapr graduating, cert-manager graduating, which I thought it already had, but lost it. wasmCloud announcement, and then Jaeger 2. So, or Jaeger v2 to be specific. Get back over here. Karen, good to see you. And again, if you've never been, you need to go. You need to do it once. Now, I haven't been since the first three. I went to the first three, like the legit first three. Never went back again because I didn't need to.
Here's the deal. I will forget about it. If you, Darren, remind me, like, let's say half a year from now, half a year before reInvent, so that, I can submit and then I cannot not go.
Okay.
Then, yeah, I mean.
Okay. And then, Martin, good to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, not sure if something or missed something. Okay. KubeCon did not exist the way it does now in the early days of reInvent. So I don't know. It just, if you want to get together with, 60, 70,000 of your closest friends in Vegas, sure. That's fine.
Also, I feel that there are two types of companies right now, and one is the type that is announcing every second week AI something, and another one like Apple that we mentioned and a few others is kind of, hey, what can we announce until we figure out what this AI thing is? Kind of give me something to announce, anything, because we are not yet ready to announce the real thing, whatever the real thing is. And I'm not saying even that it's a real thing, but AI is something, right? It's almost like bidding. Some companies are bidding their time until they can figure out what this is.
Going back to Apple, did you order a Mac Mini yet? Are you ordering?
No. I need to figure out. I need to convince myself why do I need it, because I don't.
Oh, okay.
And I'm pretty sure that I will convince myself at some point. I will come up with some stupid excuse why I need it.
So
because I don't.
My son-in-law is going to order one. He's a composer, and he's running on an M1 Mac Mini right now, and it's been fine. But he's been leasing it, so now he's going to go ahead and just buy one. But he's going to buy not the base model, but one that has 32 gig. Or actually, he's getting the base model of the Pro, whatever the base model of the Pro is. So that's what he's planning on doing. So that's how I will get it, is through him. Because I don't need one yet.
This is one of those moments where actually it would feel nice to have bigger family than I do. And then kind of somebody, your child or your cousin or something. Oh, I need a computer. And then I could come up with, hey, why don't you take my iMac?
Right. Just hand it off.
Right.
Because it's still a very good machine.
Take this thing.
Yeah.
And then I have perfect excuse to buy a new thing.
It's like, I've got rid of one. Now I need to replace it with something else.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And it's against my will. Kind of like, I was not planning to do it, but now I have to.
Yeah. I did have a couple other items that, one of them, which we had on the podcast talking to Whitney this week, is Heroku open sourcing the 12-factor app definition. So
I
there
said
was
it back then, and I'm going to say it now. I still don't understand what that means.
it was a blog post, or excuse me, it was a website, not a blog post.
Yeah. So is website now open source? Is that what this is about?
Well, you know what? We talked about it, but let's see here. Open link and tab. So this is the site. Now we can go to GitHub. And there it is. How many PRs? Nope, no PRs. There are 3 issues. Let's look at the issues. This ought to be good.
Is there a missing comma?
I don't know. Let's see here. Proposal to add identity. Okay. Config. Okay, OIDC. Okay, that identity. Got it. Okay, fair enough. Modify factor config. Credentials should be stored in environment variables, main services. Okay, fair enough. Proposal to change logs. Move to OpenTelemetry. We discussed it in our office hours. Broadcast is the way to go. A medium change to the guidelines. Okay.
It's a common thing that teams or people or companies or whatever open source because they don't want to maintain something anymore. Kind of like, okay, I don't want to be the only one in charge of this. Let community take it over. So maybe the maintenance of that single page website was too much of a burden.
Okay, I'm rolling around here just for a second. I'm trying to tell if I'm. Do you hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm getting warnings. Okay, I'm getting warnings that there's problems. Okay. But it still looks like it's not a foundation level open source. I'm not saying it's still the same people that have been maintaining it are still the gatekeepers of the content.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, it's a single page, and it's manifesto of sorts. Manifestos do not change. When we see that we should change a manifesto, we create a new one and call it differently.
Now we can fork it. We can fork the 12 factor and make a 13 factor.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's make a 13 factor apps project.
Or how about just a 1 factor? Don't. Maybe that's it. I'm joking, not joking. But anyway, so, and then a couple more items. KRO. I don't know if it's Crow. I don't know if it's Caro. I don't know what it is. Did you see this?
Crow.
Okay.
Kube resource management. Yeah, actually.
Did you see this?
Yeah, I did. I spent quite some time with it, probably more than I should.
Okay. And by the way, they're pronouncing it Crow. That's
Crow.
what it is. Cool. I missed it. Okay, good.
Cool. It's
what
nice
did you
for
think?
me for a change to pronounce something correctly. You were saying?
What did you think? You said you spent more time on it than you should have. That sounds interesting. What called you in
the
on
material for a video that should go live
soon,
in a month or so.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll leave you wondering what I mean by giving you a single word question, and that question is why.
Why? Okay. So anyway, this is one of the things that was announced during KubeCon, or adjacent with KubeCon. The other thing from Amazon that I saw was the Kubernetes control plane observability within EKS. Now, we all love going into the UI for AWS, right?
Oh, don't get me started.
So there's now new ways to see the dashboard.
Actually, UI for AWS is good.
It's reasonable. Yeah, it's
good. My complaints that often end up being complaining about UI is more about AWS architecturally, right? It's too complex for my little brain. But UI considered as representation of whatever is below it is quite good actually.
Yeah, once you get to it, you're okay. It's just getting there.
Yeah.
So they made some big about it. Whatever. That was. It's interesting. I'm glad they've got that there. But whatever. Now from Google, 65,000 nodes and counting is ready for trillion parameter AI models.
Yeah.
By the way, this looks
the
like
big announcement of that was the big thing in KubeCon this year. That okay, we're not necessarily talking that much about AI now. We're talking about AI running in Kubernetes.
Yeah. So they already had support for 15,000 node clusters. Now they're introducing support for 65,000 node clusters.
Well, if you're paying 65,000 nodes to Google, Google must be very happy.
Well, can you try 65,000 nodes with $300 in free credit?
For approximately 7 seconds.
Maybe. I'm going to use your same question. Why? I mean, they already said AI stuff, but why?
I mean, why is actually relatively simple and straightforward. If you're truly building large language, you need infinite number of nodes. I'm not talking about you now using existing large language model. I'm talking about training, right? And it seems that everybody came to the same conclusion that we cannot. So internet as a source of information for training for models is not enough. So think about it. What's the scale we're talking about? If the whole knowledge of the humanity is not enough to train the model, how many nodes is that, Darin? And then the answer is it's not enough.
Not enough. It'll never be enough. With support, okay, so I caught this one. I sort of had to laugh at. With support of 65,000 nodes, GKE now allows for running 5 jobs in a single cluster. So does that mean each job takes 12,000 nodes?
Yeah, I have no idea what this means. But if it, I mean, that number seems ridiculous. But that's one of the problems with models, right? You are actually going, if you're really going for large ones, you will have very few jobs and very big number of nodes.
Yeah. Well, one thing they said that's interesting here that sort of got skipped over, transitioning GKE from etcd to a different key store based on Spanner. So is it truly Kubernetes anymore, right? You're getting rid of etcd.
I don't know what Spanner is, but I'm very
That's
curious now because
that's their app. Here, we'll open it up. That's Google's
their key value something, right?
key value store, yeah.
Because etcd is a bottleneck of Kubernetes, from probably the biggest one right now. So
Right.
even though I don't know what Spanner is, sounds like a good idea.
Are you familiar with DynamoDB from AWS?
Yes, not
or
in depth.
Redis. Okay, well, that's probably a bad example, but it's a single database that brings relational graph, key value, search. So Spanner is a variation or a mashup of different storage types. So now they're building on top of Spanner. Okay, so does that how is that going to change GKE versus EKS and AKS?
No, for you as a user, that's implementation detail. You will see no difference.
No, we would see no difference. But the difference we may see is how does the cluster operate? Right? There may be more efficiencies, better performance.
There must be something like that. Actually, I do know that. When I set up Crossplane, I'm using Crossplane now as example because I would set up Crossplane with, let's say, 1,000 CRDs. My EKS works well, my give or take, more or less, somehow. And I'm talking about small clusters now, right? AKS works great. kind works amazingly well, and GKE just says, you know what? I don't know what to do with you. I'm done, kaput.
That's interesting.
So this
with
is very
1,000.
positive for me. Huh?
This with just 1,000.
1,000
CRDs.
CRDs, yes.
Wow.
Now, just to be clear, I run very small clusters that result in very small control plane nodes, which means that relatively small amount of memory CPU is dedicated to etcd. I'm not saying that all the clusters fail with 1,000 CRDs, but I'm just commenting that it's so curious that it works so much better with that amount of CRDs in kind cluster locally on my machine from, I don't know, 5 years ago than in GKE.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for a major overhaul that blah, 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 scales significantly faster. When was the last time you did anything serious in GKE? Like that test you were just talking about? How long's it been?
I mean, that wasn't serious. I wouldn't call it serious, but probably like a week ago.
Okay. So you were within the window. Okay. In other words, all of this stuff should have already been in place. But maybe based on the size of cluster you're using, maybe they're not. Maybe they still stick with
No,
etcd.
maybe it worked well because when I use GKE, and I'm talking about tests, right? I'm not talking about serious usage. I just know it. I just know that I need to go and get very, very long coffee. Because what GKE would do is say, I don't know how to do that. And then Google would say, obviously control plane nodes that you cannot control are too small for what you're doing. We're going to give you bigger ones, but the upgrade takes infinite amount of time. So Victor, go watch something on Netflix. So maybe it worked well the last time. I don't know. I still went for a coffee.
Well, that's your normal anyway, right? Start. Unless you're on kind. Kind is okay.
Exactly.
By the time you're finished typing kind, hit enter, it's almost done. So
Exactly. So I can choose between, hey, I can spin up a GKE in a few minutes and then wait a long time until it reconfigures itself, upgrades, changes the size of the control plane nodes. Or I can work with EKS, which does not do that, but it takes infinite amount of time to be created in the first place. Choose.
Choices. Looking ahead towards 2025, let's take a look at it. You're going to be in London for Europe. Can you actually say Europe for London? That just is...
Yeah, it's the continent. We still have a Europe as a continent as well.
That's true. China and Japan. Japan's new. India. And then North America is in Atlanta.
Actually, I will be coming to your neighborhood.
You're coming to
I'll
Dallas?
be probably coming to Austin, KCD in May.
May? Maybe I'll drive down for that. When you say in my neighborhood, it is reasonably in my neighborhood. It's only 3.5 hours. So
yeah,
not that
but
far.
you know, 3.5 hours car drive in US,
It's
that's
easy.
a neighborhood.
Yeah,
You're in suburbs of Austin, right?
sure. Yeah, Texas is yeah. Yeah. I could probably come down for that. Remind me. And then they've already announced Europe and North America, Amsterdam and LA.
Very cool.
All right.
Wait,
What?
Amsterdam, LA, they didn't announce
It's
Atlanta.
26.
Isn't Atlanta the next?
No. Oh, Atlanta
Okay,
is.
LA
As I'm saying, no,
25.
Atlanta is for 25. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Right. And then they're looking ahead to 26 for, planning. That's too far out for you, but you could go ahead and put it on your, like, I'll go ahead and put this on my, because here's the thing they're doing. Because this one was second week, I think, of November. The Atlanta one's going to be roughly the same week next year, but then it moves up into October, the last week of October. So they're moving it up 2 weeks.
2 weeks earlier. Yeah.
2 weeks earlier in general.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's look at Amsterdam. I haven't looked at that. Let's see. Amsterdam. Yeah, they're moving it up 1 to 2 weeks, and that means it's going to be colder in Amsterdam.
Don't talk about it.
Did you survive? Did you do anything fun while you were there?
No, actually, it wasn't cold. I'm a bit exaggerating now. I expected it to be very cold. It actually wasn't. I mean, it wasn't comfortable for me, but it wasn't as cold as I expected. It started snowing one morning, kind of
Yep.
heavily, and then the snow disappeared, and it went back to kind of temperature that, with a jacket you're comfortable.
So in other words, it was nice seeing the snow. Then you didn't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So testing production 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Then you did developer experience for Crossplane.
Yeah.
But then most importantly is what you have coming up in an hour and a half. And then we'll let you go. You have the grand finale of You Choose for this season.
Exactly.
Or this chapter, however you want to read it. So it says here, featuring an end-to-end demo of the chosen tech, which you haven't started on yet.
No, I mean, I haven't started yet, and I should be able to do it on time. The setup for that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So because, I need to create a bunch of things before I start doing the first of the many demos. But then the end-to-end, that's going to be loosely interpreted. There are a couple of pieces that I still didn't do.
Yeah. Okay. We'll cut a short show today so you can at least give you an hour to get that ready and get a snack in. Okay. So next Friday, not here. Holiday in the U.S., I decided to take it off. I didn't even consult with Victor. I just decided.
It's fine.
But we're starting to...
I would fire you, but hey.
Well, you could. You could, but then who would
You
know?
cannot fire somebody without putting that somebody on a payroll first.
No, that's true. We've got some interesting people coming up on the podcast next year. We're starting the recordings for those this coming week. Yes, we record early. And yes, we're almost already scheduled through the end of May. It's been a good booking season. Let's put it that way. People, but then it's like, okay, so we're going to record it on Monday and it'll come out on Wednesday, right? Like, no. Just pulling back the curtain a little bit, we usually record about 3 months in advance, except for like what we did with KubeCon, because we try to let that be timely. We recorded that on Friday. I think it was Friday, because you barely had voices. So yeah, it was Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday.
Okay, anyway, anything else? Are we good? So
Yeah.
anybody that's in the U.S., enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday next Thursday and Friday. For everybody else in the world, sucks to be you. Just enjoy Thursday and Friday without having to deal with the... So basically, once you log off on Thursday and Friday, guess what? Nobody in the U.S. is going to be bothering you, or they shouldn't be, because we should all
It'll
be
be great.
off. Yeah. It's no
You
late
will be able
night calls.
to do the actual work now without managers calling you every 50 minutes. It's amazing.
Exactly. Holidays are the most wonderful thing.
Don't take those days as holidays.
Work.
Take the days when they're bothering you. Take those as holidays. Those are the days you actually do real work.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. If you're in the U.S., again, eat too much turkey. That's a good thing.